So, earlier this month, I posted a comic about getting older. You can go read it and other comics on lifeofbria.com. This was just a fun little cartoon starring the girls from my short horror graphic novella, She Never Came Out, being cute and happy. But underlying it is a larger set of feelings that I feel like talking about. So, yep, I make videos that accompany my comics now, apparently. I learned recently that the official age at which one is considered a cougar is 35, which has me feeling some kind of way because that's the age that I turned recently. Well, I've had a number of things in my life recently to make me see the ways I'm getting older, from little aches and pains to a steady march of wrinkles on my face, hands, and even toes, to just not relating to anything anywhere, even more than I already did or didn't. I honestly still feel like my life is just beginning. I still feel young, I still feel vibrant, and like I have a lot left to do in my life. I have lots of energy, lots of goals and aspirations. But the way the media and society would talk about somebody my age, especially a woman my age, they're talking about you almost like you're done, you're finished, you're not anything anymore, you don't matter. Certainly, if you're a woman over the age of 30, let alone 35, there's significantly fewer opportunities for you. And if you want to be involved in any kind of performance or media, oh boy! When was the last time you saw a female movie star debuting after like 23? There's only one kind of woman who is valued in this world for the most part, and she ain't 35. It's no secret that anywhere you look on television or movies or online content, the very young are first and foremost. All you see are depictions of fresh faced teens and people in their early 20s. I recently talked with a young actor who complained that she kept getting cast as moms in commercials despite being like 21. It's not only harmful to her self esteem being told at such a young age that she looks like a mom, with all the negative ageist connotations that come with that label in our society, but surely it isn't doing a whole lot for most moms' self esteem seeing a 21-year-old playing them as though they're supposed to look like that. You just can't win. They screw you coming and going. From anime to the WB, high school is centered quite prominently in most media, and we're constantly told those are our best years, despite high school pretty much universally sucking for everybody. In Marvel movies or any kind of action adventure story, anybody who's depicted as doing anything heroic or adventurous or of any kind of importance is typically in their 20s or early 30s at the oldest. I had a pretty adventurous teens and 20s, but I remember mostly feeling frustrated because it's really hard to do anything at that age. Not to throw any shade on people in their teens and 20s, but they don't have experience. They don't have the means to do a whole lot. It's really hard to do things when you're young because you don't know anything yet and you don't have a whole lot of resources most of the time. And that's okay. That's like the whole point of living, is that you learn more things and gain more experience and then you can do more things. As I've gotten older, arguably my life has only gotten better. I've gained more skills, more confidence, and more context and experience to better understand and navigate social situations, and more wisdom to help me through life's darkest chapters. So, why is it that our culture and media seems to focus so intently on depictions and idealizations of youth? The value of youth, derogatory. Well, to start with, media centers on youth because media and the culture that creates it is centered on selling people things, and people in their 20s tend to have fewer responsibilities and obligations, but are still old enough to be working and earning money, which means they have disposable income. They are the ones who are most likely to buy products. They don't have to spend money on mortgages and retirement savings, although I guess they probably should be, supposedly. I don't know anybody who actually is, though. But they can buy media. They can buy clothes. They can buy so many of the frivolous things that our society produces and advertises. So, media and culture is going to be centered around catering to the people they can make the most money from. But beyond that, youth is itself a resource that can be exploited. To be young is to have potential. There's still years ahead of you. Years for you to work, to shop, to have children. Years during which you can be useful to somebody else. Even medical school programs have age caps after which they won't accept applicants to become medical doctors because they won't be working doctors for enough years for the investment to train them to be worth it. That spot in medical school might as well go to somebody who is younger and therefore going to be a working doctor for longer. Wealth is less about having than it is about having what others do not have. Time is the ultimate commodity because you can't ever get more of it. It's always becoming more and more scarce. To have power over time is to have power over the most valuable commodity. Time is money, and therefore youth is money. Young people are valuable because they have more time. If you get somebody when they're young, you can keep making money off them for a long time. Gotta get them when they're young. Youth and beauty are physical resources that we lose access to as we grow older. A woman who bemoans getting older isn't merely being vain, as society routinely likes to tell women we are being. She is mourning the loss of a material resource. Her life is now becoming harder. People will treat her more poorly. She will have fewer opportunities, regardless of the benefits of experience and wisdom that come with age. Younger people, not having the benefit of experience, are also often easier to control, both in the workplace and in relationships. If you don't have historical context for your circumstances, it's harder for you to realize that you're being taken advantage of. If you don't know that things used to be better, it's hard for you to demand for them to be better now. Young workers are more precarious in the world. They have less established roots, less material resources, and less knowledge of how to navigate difficult situations. Therefore, they are often easier to take advantage of and exploit. Similarly, if you are in a relationship with somebody much younger than you, there is a power imbalance there of experience and often material wealth that you've built up over the course of age. Older, and let's face it, usually men, are notorious for manipulating and gaslighting their younger partners, beating down their confidence and making them feel worth less than they are. It's no surprise that many of the most toxic men prize youth and beauty in their female partners, not just because they are shallow, not just because they are insecure and need validation in the form of a beautiful partner, but also because they want somebody who is inherently childlike, pliable, manipulable, somebody they can boss around. A lot of older guys don't want to date older women because older women won't put up with their shit anymore. From the perspective of many men, if you have a young hot wife, that's something that another person with an older spouse has less of. You are now above that person in some tangible way. And as a young person who has so much potential, they could choose to do anything. They could be with anybody, but they apparently chose to be with you, which must say something about you. You must have value because somebody who could choose to do anything chose you. It's a flex to be involved with the young when you have the material disadvantage of having less time. Even, and possibly especially, when you have manipulated them into it. On the macro scale, by continually shifting the cultural focus towards youth, not only are the wealthy able to continually extract more and more profit from new, successive generations of young people, but it also allows them to continually shift the historical lens through which we view our world. Despite the fact that our world is ruled by a small number of wealthy old men, in popular culture, the voices and perspectives of older, more experienced people are frequently discounted as crazy old people who are out of touch with reality, when in fact often those old people have some kind of experience that tells them what's going on now is not okay, that things used to be different, perhaps even better in certain regards, and that we should not put up with this. By framing the conversation as the old people don't know anything and they're holding you back, younger people, while seemingly being empowered to enact revolutionary change, are really being convinced to accept a status quo that doesn't ever change for the better, not because they don't think it should change, but because they don't understand the ways in which it needs to change beyond the surface level, or the ways they're being manipulated into wasting their efforts, and the ways that previous generations have tried to change society and failed. Obviously, there's a huge generational problem. There's a massive generational wealth gap between baby boomers and Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z and beyond. And most of our problems can be tracked to a bunch of rich old white men. And in many ways, things were worse in the past. Civil rights, LGBT rights, racism, sexism, misogyny. However, there's other aspects of life that have actually gotten worse than they were in the past, such as labor protections and the bargaining power of workers. We are taught to be docile in an assumption that things are getting better because we don't have the historical context to see just how things have changed, and nobody is encouraged to pay attention to the people who might be able to give that context. The value of age, affectionate. I don't want to turn this into bashing young people or old versus young because that's silly and it's exactly the kind of intergenerational warfare that the ruling class is purposefully enacting by focusing on youth. The ruling class benefits from young workers fighting with older workers when the reality is we need to team up. We need to be on the same side. One of the duties and responsibilities of being an older person is looking out for the next generation. We're supposed to guide and support young people, but we're frequently not encouraged to do that. Typically, We're pitted against them. We're meant to compete with them. We're meant to see them as a threat when they shouldn't be, but our society frames it as such. When you're a woman and you turn 35 and everywhere you look are depictions of 20-year-olds or the implicit impression that you should be like them, and if you're not, you're a failure and a bad person, it's hard not to feel antagonistic towards 20-year-olds. When you're 20 and everything sucks and the old people in charge are quite obviously the source of every bad thing that happens to you, and then they keep telling you that it's your fault and that you should just work harder, it's pretty understandable to be antagonistic towards older people. Getting old is scary. It's just one more thing that you are not in control of. It's a ride you're on that you can't get off of, but we shouldn't look on it as something that's unilaterally bad. There's a lot of benefits that come with age, and I know that I am the person I am today because of all the things I experienced when I was younger. It's a bit of a cliche, but it really is true. You're only as old as you feel, and that goes both ways. There's a lot of unfair burdens put on us by our society regarding age and getting older. It's pretty toxic, if you ask me, that we are encouraged to see the earliest part of our lives as the most important. When you're a kid, you really have no power over anything, and despite whatever latent physical advantages you might have in your youth, you really don't have the experience to properly act on them. For the most part, I found as I've gotten older, I actually have more of an ability to act on what I want to do. I'm a more effective athlete now than I was in my 20s because I have an understanding of my body on an intuitive and experiential level that allows me to use my body in a more effective way. I have more confidence in my older age and a better fashion sense to go with it. I take better care of myself than I was capable of when I was younger. Getting older honestly should be something to celebrate. Like, actually celebrate, not just going through the motions on your birthday, but like actually be happy that you're moving through life. Gaining wisdom and experience grants gifts far greater than losing the physical edge that you may have once had. The older I get, the more I appreciate the quote unquote old people because I see the value that their experiences have and the ways that the world has changed and often left them behind. As a child, it often seems like the world is something you can fully grasp and understand one day. But with age comes the awareness that even with 1,000 more years, you could never explore every corner of it as it is now, and it will continue to change far faster than you could ever hope to catch up with. It's important to actually accept and embrace our age, regardless of what it is, to understand the wisdom that we've gained and the things that we have to offer because of our age, as well as how much we still have to learn. I might still feel young and vibrant, but I also feel older and wizened, and that puts me in a position to help people in a way I wasn't capable of helping people when I was 20. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any thoughts about this topic of getting older or anything else in this video, I'd love to hear them in the comments section below. If you like this video, please hit the like button to boost it up in the algorithm. And if you like the channel and you want to see more of this, make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification button. The names you see scrolling by right now are my awesome patrons who support me on Patreon. Everything I do really couldn't happen without them. So I'm pretty thankful right now that these people have stood by me throughout the process of coming to this video's completion. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these videos based on my comics, and you can get your name up here in this list in the next video, as well as see all my comics and videos, like basically a week in advance or so, by supporting me on Patreon. So please do that if you can. Thank you.